Welcome back to Midlife Unleashed. This episode is about confidence. And, if you have ever looked in the mirror and thought, I don't feel like myself anymore, or I used to be so confident, and, you're not alone, you're not the only one. So today we are here and we are talking about how your health habits shape your self worth, and how confidence isn't something that you're born with, but it is something that you build. So, Doug is here to walk us through the emotional transformation that happens when you start showing up for yourself again. I'm very excited about this. I know a lot of my friends are going through this right now, myself included. Seasons are changing, things are changing. So, I think this is going to be a great episode for everyone. So,
Yeah, it should be fun. These are
absolutely.
always
Absolutely. All right, Doug. So, let's start here. Why is it that confidence often is one of the first things to erode in midlife? Like, what usually is underneath that confidence loss?
well, it's probably a couple things, which is why you see it often, right? And so there's the physical part, right? We got the decline in estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and all that leads to, body composition changes, mood changes, energy changes, and all those are part of self-image, self-esteem, right? And then there's that psychological side. Oftentimes at midlife, particularly for women, there might be decades of putting things in front of you, meaning family, children, careers. So there's like decades of kind of like self-neglect because they're so giving and helping out and looking and promoting the rest of the things in their life, not necessarily themselves. And then at midlife, that kind of comes back, and then there's the cultural part. And here in this society, midlife means decline, not necessarily, opportunity. And so you get all those, but the biggest thing that I find that causes this lack of confidence is because people stop doing what they said they were going to do, right? They're not keeping their own promises to themselves. And so when you say I'm going to eat better or I'm going to work out or I'm going to lose 20 pounds or something, and then you miss it, the sting doesn't come from what you didn't do. The sting comes from it actually erodes your confidence. And it's just a little piece, it's just a little nugget,
Mhm.
but consistently over time, that starts to weigh on you. That starts to weigh on you. And then the last thing I would say is staying in your comfort zone too long. You stay in the comfort zone too long, and next thing you know, those challenges that you're used to taking, you're not up to, and they kind of slowly erode on that confidence. So it's a bunch of things, but you can be getting hit from different levels, and they all kind of lean towards eroding of that confidence.
Absolutely. And like you said, confidence is built. So, with that being
Mhm.
said, confidence is built and not inherited. What does that look like in practice?
Action, right. Confidence is built. It's like a product of action. Like I said, doing what you said you were going to do, right? It's not like some sort of genetic lottery ticket that you were born with it and cool, you got it for the rest of your life, and some people don't. But when you do what you say you're going to do, you send a message to your brain that it absorbs, and it starts to build that self-trust. And the more trust that it builds, the bigger your confidence actually grows in whatever particular area that it may be. So it's not necessarily a personality trait. I like to say that confidence is more like a receipt, right? And it's a receipt of the action. And the more difficult things that you do and that you prove that you can handle by taking action, then the more and the better your confidence kind of grows.
I like that, like it's a receipt, because it's true. If you're showing up for yourself, you're gonna feel so much better. You're gonna feel confident in the decisions that you're making, whether it's something that's physically showing or not. That mental aspect of you really being determined and dedicated and showing up for yourself can definitely, build that confidence.
I've seen it time and time again with myself and my clients. You set this goal, a challenging goal, and you go out to do it. And chances are, it's going to be messy in the beginning. You're not going to do well. You might fall on your face. I remember when I was training for a half marathon, right? And I'm a football player, so 100 yards is long distance. Never mind a mile or 13 miles. And so a group of us said we were going to train to do this to raise some money for some charities. And, I struggled right out the gate. I couldn't run around the block, to be honest with you. And then, you start to run and then you got shin splints and, then you got the wrong shoes and you got to learn about this and you got to learn about how to hydrate and, how to fuel yourself on these long runs. And you got to learn all this stuff. But as you're taking that action, you're just building confidence. You're just building confidence. And then, it didn't even matter how fast I ran the race. It was more important to me that I made it, and all those steps along the way really helped me to build confidence in myself that not only could I run a half marathon, but I could do hard things.
Absolutely. And that's such a good example because, for example, you're obviously very health conscious, you're fit, you're athletic, you work out all the time. So even you, who a lot of people might look at, running as something that's not super hard or super difficult, even though it
Sure.
can be, but even for someone who is fit and in good shape, taking on a new routine or a new challenge can be super difficult. So I think that's important for
Oh,
people starting
oh
out
yeah.
or getting into it, that even people that are fit and are healthy and are athletic can still struggle with
Sure.
running, for example.
Yeah, well, no one does anything the first time and they're good at it.
Hmm.
It just don't work that way. You might think you are, but over time and action is what kind of builds, the confidence.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And you probably have a few examples, but can you walk us through a time where a client gains confidence through health and not just like the weight that they lost?
Sure, sure. I mean, once people start to show up for themselves and confidence starts to build, right? And oftentimes I find when people, they come in, they're saying, we talk about their goals and what they want to accomplish and not just the physical goals, but confidence is usually one of those things. And oftentimes it's because they haven't been showing up for themselves. And so just by coming in and addressing their health, they're actually doing that. So that starts to build the confidence just by taking that action, right? And then once you start to get the physical component and you start to eat better and you start to learn and you start to do things and you start to realize that, hey, I can do this too, right? It may have been elusive to me before, but at this point, if I keep acting, I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm getting better. And so you see that. And then, I've said this before with health, it improves every area of your life, right? So, yeah, okay, I'm stronger. I can squat this, I can bench press this, I can walk this distance, I can run this distance. But no, you're also a better partner. You're also a better parent. You're also a better employee. You're also a better employer. You're also a better member of the community when you're healthy. So that confidence that you build exudes in every area or aspect, of your life.
Absolutely. And that confidence and that showing up for you is going to show up in so many other ways and so many other
Hmm.
relationships and dynamics in
Hmm.
different areas of your life.
Sure.
In terms of daily habits and routines and things like that, what daily habits are, or do you think are the most confidence building for midlife clients, even if the scale doesn't potentially move?
Yeah. Well, the scale is never a way to judge your self-worth. And although I see clients and have had so many clients over the years that kind of judge their worth on the scale should have nothing to do with your self worth. And if anyone out there values themselves based on their weight or what the scale says, you want to stop that today, right? In terms of habits that help build confidence, the first one I'd say is strength training. And I'm not really talking from an aesthetics standpoint as much as a strength standpoint. So if you're lifting weights and you can physically see that, hey, I'm stronger than I was last month, than I was 6 months ago, that's a confidence booster right there, right? And then strength training kind of comes out and doing physical things as well. And when you see yourself doing things that maybe you didn't think you could do, or you were impressed with the way you opened a jar, or the things that you did, or the lifting that you did around the house, then that's all a nice big confidence booster. So strength training is one that definitely helps to build the confidence. I would say sleep also as a habit, especially at midlife, because when you get the proper sleep, not only is your mood better, not only do you feel more energetic, not only are your hunger hormones balanced, so it's easier to eat, but you don't have that brain fog. And I got to tell you, man, at midlife, you haven't reached it yet, but that brain fog is something. You're sitting here thinking, and then next thing you know, you go to do something and you're not really sure what the hell you were doing, or why you're in a certain place, or what you're doing. And so sleep helps with that. So I would say, and that's not necessarily a confidence booster, but when you don't have that brain fog, you feel good about how you're operating and how you're functioning.
For sure.
Just even having a morning routine can help with feeling more confidence, because you're telling your brain first thing in the morning that you're in control. And that's always a positive. And I guess a sneaky kind of habit is hydration. People laugh at that and, probably don't see the connection, but when you are properly hydrated, your body functions differently. Okay. And your skin looks better and you eat better. And so being properly hydrated plays a key part in confidence, but most people don't see the connection, but that's a habit that can absolutely help you to feel better. And when you feel better, you feel more confident also.
Absolutely. And that's something so small that people probably overlook in terms of the importance and how impactful like it really can be for your health and your appearance too. Going back to what you said about your skin looking better and
Sure.
also you feeling better and just basically how you function overall when you're hydrated. And you won't be as
Oh,
hungry.
yeah.
You'll drink a glass of water and realize like I was actually dehydrated. I wasn't even hungry. So
Sure, sure. No, you'll perform much better, much better. And
absolutely.
performance builds confidence.
For sure. And what are some of the most common things that people unknowingly chip away at their confidence? What's, I guess, one belief, if you had to choose one, or a behavior that clients need to let go of to rebuild trust with themselves?
There's a whole bunch of them. Number one, sitting in your comfort zone consistently. You got to get out of there. You got to challenge yourself. You got to keep pushing yourself to kind of grow and build the opportunity to build confidence, right? The negative self-talk, I mean, that's a bad one. I'm too old. I'll never change. Negative self-talk is never good. So, that just erodes confidence. That all or nothing mentality, if I don't have an hour to work out, I can't do anything. That just leads to you working out less and less and less, and being less healthy and not trusting yourself anymore. Comparing yourself to when you were younger. That's another one that chips away at your confidence slowly, or even worse, comparing yourself to somebody's highlights on social media.
For sure.
Again, all those things, they're not big, but they're like little chips away at your confidence. And all it takes is a whole bunch of little things, and then there you have it. Now you're questioning yourself. You're not feeling like yourself. You don't feel as good as you used to feel, or believe yourself as much as you used to. Excuse me. But the best thing that you can do to not erode your confidence is do what you say you're going to do. That's just the easiest way to kind of build your confidence. If you say that you're going to get up in the morning and go work out, then get up and do that, right? Right. If I told you I was going to come over and pick you up at 5 p.m. and I didn't do it, and then I didn't do it for 10 times in a row, how much confidence do you have in me?
Exactly. That confidence is lost. And
It's gone.
and that
It's
stems to trust
gone.
too. That ties into even trusting yourself.
Sure. And that's what happens. People say, I'm going to eat better, and then they don't, and then they don't, and then they don't. And after, 5, 10 times, your brain doesn't believe you,
Hmm.
and you got to now flip that over and try to get it back in the right situation. And typically, when people say they're going to do that, I'm going to lose this weight for the new year, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they don't do it, they wait for a surge of motivation to come back and try to do it again. But motivation doesn't build trust,
Right.
right? Action builds the trust, right? The motivation is one of those prerequisites, but prerequisites doesn't build any trust. It's the action. So you got to do something. You got to do something.
And that even reminds me of one of the previous episodes we did where we were saying it's not even about motivation half of the time. It's really about action and little steps forward and those routines and those habits, because you may not have the motivation, but if you have those routines in place and you're dedicated to them, it's easier to pick back up, and it's a routine. You're more likely to just continue doing it whether you have the motivation or not.
There you go.
I'm taking
There you
notes,
go.
Doug. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, man, you nailed it. You nailed that one.
And it's
Sweet.
I remember that was one of the earlier episodes, but it's so I love like being, episode 12 now, and having those reminders of talking about topics and things where everything really does come full circle, because it's really such a, I guess, foundation for you to be better. And even whether you're in midlife or not, but specifically in midlife, those little routines and those little habits, even in these conversations, come up over and over in itself, which is just really the best way that you can be confident and trust yourself, by all these little things adding up and doing these small things to have such a big impact and change in your appearance
And
and
they
your health
do.
and everything.
Sure. And they do. And it's just small, consistent behaviors. That's the key. Small, consistent behaviors.
And so much of confidence comes from identity. So, how do you help someone go from I feel stuck to I'm really becoming the person I want to be?
Yeah, well, you know, you gotta behave in the way that identity behaves, right? And so you gotta ask yourself, you know, what would I do if I was in that place that I wanted to be, right? How would I behave? What actions would I take right now if I wanted to be a healthier person? And then take that action, right? And that's really how you can kind of change that identity in order to kind of bring you along to where you need to be, right? Because where you are currently isn't functioning well enough for you, because you've got a desire to be somewhere else. And so, in order to do that, you want to work with your mind and identify as that person, and then the behaviors will come right along with it so that you can actually get to where you desire to be.
I love
So identity is important.
I
It's important. Identity is important.
Yeah, and it's It's also in a way for me when you were saying that right now, I feel like I completely was able to visualize it. So in a way of,
Mm,
you're not going up this hill to get somewhere and feeling like if you miss a day or you're out of your routine, you're back down the hill or you're back down the stairs. It's like you're looking at what you want to be or where you want to or how you want to appear, how you want to feel, and like that's what you're looking at, and then everything else you need to do to be there versus like climbing to get there in a sense.
sure, sure. But I mean, ultimately, it's a climb,
Hmm.
but it's an easier way to actually get there,
Yeah, you have to take
right?
the
Because you're
action to get
identifying.
there.
Yeah, yep, yep. There you go. There you go. And here's the thing: when you're here and you're looking up that hill, like
Hmm.
as you described it, it's easy to get stuck.
Hmm.
It's easy when you're in this mindset to get stuck.
Yeah,
Whereas when you're thinking, well, what would I be doing if I was here? Well, I'll just do that.
exactly. It's more like a tunnel vision of like this is where I want to be. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. I need to do these things versus I feel like it makes it seem more obtainable in a way than having to, feel like overwhelmed or boggled down by I need to do all these things. And that goes back to the all or nothing mentality too. So if that's
Hmm.
what you're looking
Hmm.
at, that's what you want to be. It's like, okay, I'm going to do these few things today to get there, to really make that
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. And every action is a vote, and more that evidence gets built up, that's where the confidence comes from.
Absolutely. And you've worked with so many people over the age of 40 and older than that as well. For those people, let's say over 40, who do feel disconnected or invisible or feel like disconnected from who they used to be, what's your message to someone listening who's feeling like they've lost their spark or feeling like they're not the same person they used to be?
Yeah, it's feeling kind of stuck in someone else's body, not who they were. And you hear I hear that oftentimes on intakes, and the thing is, you gotta give yourself some love. Like you gotta invest and act for you. And as you start to do that, then you start to kind of feel more and more better about yourself. And so the spark is there. It's still there. You just need some oxygen. And that, and the oxygen is action geared towards you. Because when you feel like you're doing something for yourself, right? You're bettering yourself, you're doing something to take care of yourself. That action is oxygen. And that spark it's just sitting there. It hasn't gone anywhere. Just because you're in midlife doesn't mean it's not there. Just because you haven't done something in a long period of time, just because your priorities may have been more in a certain area than they are currently, it's still there. And all you got to do is dust it off, right? And you got to take some actions that are going to make you feel good about you. And the more you start to do that, the more action you take, and the confidence starts to build, and you start to realize that, yeah, I got this. I got this.
And yeah, that confidence will definitely, I feel like, ignite that spark and remember who you are. You're the same person. Things may have
Mhm,
changed, life
mhm,
changes, everyone changes,
mhm.
but you're still there. And it's just those little things to help you build a confidence to really remember, like, who you are, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, particularly in midlife, it's been a long time,
Hmm.
right? It's been a long time. And a lot of times when you're taking care of family and you're taking care of children and you got the career and you got the parents, you got all these other things, you kind of oftentimes neglect yourself, particularly women, at least the women that I work with, right? Men do as well, but I've seen women as more of the caregivers, so they tend to neglect themselves a little more, right? And so all we need to do is put some time into you, and as you do that, and as you kind of flame that spark and put some oxygen on it, it comes back and you feel good, and you should feel good. You should feel good.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Especially in midlife, you've come, X amount of years, you've come so far in a way that
Sure.
you've done all these things, you've learned so much, and it's, even like what you said earlier about it seems like, oh, you're getting older, not as exciting. It's you're the youth isn't there, and the everyone thinks about
Hmm.
youth and happiness, whereas people think about getting older as, like, I think earlier you said decline. I forget exactly the word you use, but something
Yeah.
along those lines. And it's like you've
Yeah.
done,
Oh, yeah. Decline.
yeah, you've done so much. This can be a whole reset. It doesn't have to be a decline. It can be a whole new chapter with the right
Yeah. Like we're not at midlife. The goal's not to go back to look like you did at 25,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not where confidence is going to come from.
Right.
The confidence is going to be in you showing up the way that you desire to at 55.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not like a chase. We're not trying to chase youth,
Right.
right? The goal is to look at this as an opportunity, and at midlife, we have the wisdom to make decisions and carry out our actions in life the way that we desire, right? At younger ages, you really can't necessarily do that, but at midlife, you got the wisdom, right? And so confidence is showing up the way that you desire to at midlife, at 55, at 50, at 60, whatever it is. No one's trying to chase the 25. You're not going to get it. And most people who are fully aware of what they want out of life don't want to.
Exactly. I was thinking that too. A lot of people might not want to be back where they were at 25 or a teenager. It's embracing who you are now with that wisdom that you have
Hmm.
and making the best of it.
Hmm.
And for you, Doug, so what does confidence look like for you, physically, mentally, emotionally? And what's one area where you're still building confidence today?
Physically, being able to do activities and not being worried about my body failing me. Going on a bike ride and being able to just hop on the bike and ride 20, 30, 40, 50 miles and know that my body's not gonna, it can handle it, right? Going on vacation and hearing about this hike or trail or somewhere and doing that thing, right? Showing up in the gym knowing that I'm going to physically maintain or can maintain my structure, right? And so that's what confidence looks like for me, be physically, in terms of being able to do things and knowing that I'll be able to do it. you know um what else did you say? Oh, mentally, right? Mentally it's about being able to help my clients and stay focused on my mission, my personal mission, without self-doubt. So just believing in me and what I built and who I'm here to serve, and then servicing them without question that I can. And then emotionally, that's about resilience. That's about resilience. Just knowing that when things don't go right, I don't fold. Because they're never going to go right, and there's going to be failures, and there's going to be opportunities for growth. And when those things come, I don't want to go into a small place, right? So I want to be resilient, and I want to play a big game. So that's what confidence looks like, for me in those areas. In terms of what I'm working on, I'm working on confidence and being still.
Mm,
I'm a go, 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 go. Just keep things going. Just keep moving. And there's confidence in being still.
mm-hmm.
And I'm learning how to build confidence and not having to go all the time and just be still and still get the things done that I want to get done. And I'm learning how to do that. And like we mentioned earlier, I mean, it's a process, and I got to keep taking actions, and I got to keep making votes and keep building evidence and keep not convincing myself of it, but changing my brain so that that's how I function. Because as of now, if I'm not moving, and if I'm not doing something, and if I don't have six balls in the air, I kind of feel like I'm not doing the right thing, and that's not right. That's not necessarily how high functioning people operate. And so I'm trying to learn to build confidence, in silence, and not operating so much in the fire, which I
Absolutely.
enjoy.
You are always busy. You're always up to something. But I like that you
But
do have.
sometimes that's a ploy. You know what I mean? Like that. Being busy can be a cover up. Like, why do you always have to be busy? Which is the question I ask myself. Why do you always have to be busy? There's more to that, and so why can't you be productive and be still? And I can't. I just have to learn how to practice that and build confidence in that, and then I'll be operating in that environment also.
Absolutely. And today's episode was a reminder that confidence isn't loud. It's actually built in quiet moments of consistency and integrity. Going back to exactly what you just said, finding confidence in being still. And for anyone who is listening today and is ready to start believing in yourself again, share this episode with someone who needs that nudge. Share it with anyone who you think can benefit from it. And just know that your confidence isn't lost. It's waiting for you to show up.
Yeah, give it some oxygen.
Give it some oxygen. Well, thank you so much, Doug. This was a great episode. I know I got a lot from it. I'm sure everyone else did as well. Share it. Give someone that nudge. You never know who can benefit from hearing it. And I will talk to you next week.